All right, thank you guys for jumping into session 20, plan your future. A lot of what we're going to be covering today will be like the next step, things that happen after Ignite. Keep in mind that real estate and learning is a never-ending process. Tony Robbins calls it constant and never-ending improvement. We've been in a recession, or at least now the stats are there to show like, hey, we're officially in what you would consider a recession. No matter how it's topped up 2 quarters in a row of a negative GDP, hey, it is what it is. Yet there's opportunity in everything that happens. There was opportunity in the last Great Recession. There was opportunity during the pandemic. There was an opportunity during the big raise and inflationary periods. There's opportunities in everything that we look at. Right now, it's kind of Mark. I think this is like your first or second time jumping on with us, but we're going to wrap up the idea of our mission, our lead generation, running contracts all into one big bow, yet there's still going to be learning opportunities throughout. So this is kind of a course overview of what we've covered thus far. This would be being the real estate expert of choice. This is where we work on our mission statement, kind of our core values, what we were looking at in terms of our real estate career. Lead generation, this is where really after kind of setting the tone of what we want to accomplish, everything else kind of stems from lead generation, right? And I shared something this morning with our team huddle, which was your one thing early on may be something as simple as talking to people, prospecting, lead follow-up. Eventually your one thing kind of flips, right, from lead generation to lead follow-up, and then it flips again into working and transacting business, right? But that doesn't replace the idea that your priority would still be staying in tune with who you are and what you choose to do, your lead generation or your lead follow-up. It just becomes easier to knock out the transactional stuff because it's client driven, it's customer driven, it's revenue driven. And those are little dominoes in the grander scheme of things, right? It's a little domino that pays out very big. But in the course of your day, when you knock out these little things within the first 30 minutes to an hour, it makes the lead follow-up, lead generation, and the constant never-ending improvement so much more easier. Early on, it's a lot of training, a lot of lead generation, a little follow-up, a little bit of transacting business. But there gets to a point where you have way more business and a lot of time to focus on it, but you've got to make those smaller dominoes in order to keep the lead follow-up going so you can get more appointments, more clients to help. Got to keep the lead generation going and get more lead follow-up. And you got to keep working on the real estate expert of choice, this aspect right here, in order to sustain what you're doing and be in tune with what's happening in the market. You know, like I can sound like a crazy man saying like, this is the best time ever to be in real estate, because it was the best time ever to be in real estate in 2008 when everything was imploding. All right, the agents who stayed behind, they weren't even like that awesome by their own definition. They weren't that great. They were just available when the banks called and said, hey, I need a realtor to sell 50 houses for me because we can't sell them. You know, and that's how a lot of those people stumbled into fortune, into wealth, because they just happened to be able to pick up a phone and they were just hanging around. I'm not saying that we're going to have massive foreclosures. What I'm saying is you might have 50 people in your database or 50 people in the neighborhood that have so much uncertainty about what's going on, and you're not going to take advantage of them. That's not the key. The key is, hey, you're going to help educate, relate their goals, their feelings to the timing of the market. Hey, this too shall pass. However, if this is truly something you want to maximize in life and move, whatever it is, hey, we have a solution for you. However, if you are going to stay, this is what we're going through. Who else do you have to know that would need this type of confidence or this type of clarity in their life? Not a referral, not a buy or sell, just, hey, who needs this type of clarity and consultation? Yeah. Any thoughts on that from Mark or Monique or anyone here?
That's actually a good way to put it, as we're basically asking them not straight for a referral, but someone else that you could speak to that could end up being, you know, a transaction.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just the words are who else could benefit.
Right, because these are like, if you guys ever read Tom Hawkins, he says he uses sales terms as cuss words, right? Like
I love it.
right? Like sign here,
I can
that's
see
cuss
that,
word,
yeah.
right? Like,
That's just such a great way.
yeah, because we're so in tune that, haven't bought a car in a while. The person I bought my car recently from was a friend, and she knows Tom Hopkins, like we grew up in the same environment. And she didn't use any of the cuss words, which I thought was funny. She's like, "Oh, it's autograph here. What monthly amount are you most comfortable with?" She went through like all the stuff, with me. She didn't use like, "Oh, here's your car payment, and here's all the stuff that you pay for." It was monthly amount. It was your autograph here. What part of the presentation that we didn't cover that you need answered. It was so smooth, right? And the world tells us, oh, you gotta buy, you gotta sell, you gotta sign here, you gotta, all this stuff. Referrals are the highest compliment you can give me. It's on the back of every realtor's business card, it feels like. But now it's more, hey, how can we be more of a human in this process? Because the reality is most people who are losing value in their homes, their mortgage payment all in is still lower than rent in the same community. Right? Like if I look at people who bought in my neighborhood in Canoga Park for even 800,000, right, with 20% down, or 10, let's say FHA, let's say 3.5% down. Okay, so they lost in value, but their mortgage payment every month is 3,500. They say even 4,000. But to rent a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Canoga Park right now, guess how much it is? 3,500 to 4,000 to rent a decent home in the West Valley.
I've seen them.
Yeah, so to get in, and if you extrapolate it out, even at $4,000 a month times 12 months, it's 48,000 times 10 years. That's $480,000 paid on PITI. Imagine paying 400. Let's say you saved a little bit of money, and in that period of time, even with, let's say, rent going up 1 to 5% a year, or 1 to 3%. Let's use the LA City mandate. You're still going to drop in nearly 400 grand in rent over that same 10-year period. You're paying 480 over a 10-year period on your mortgage and everything. You probably bought down some equity. I mean, I'm not preaching to the choir here, but that's kind of the mindset that you're adopting. It's like, hey, lock in now, or you lock in, keep that rate, keep that going forward, off you go. So you've seen this lead generation, lead follow through transaction. Today's agenda, we're going to set your sights on a big future, have a smart money business, commit to the success system for life, plan for learning, design your future plan. Quote of the day: how you think matters, how you think the beginning really matters. And you should add really, really, really matters. And that's Gary Keller out of the MREA, Millionaire Real Estate Agent. For those online and those here in person, any ahas or takeaways from this one quote?
Well, I think positive input on the way that you're thinking, including your sales and your mindset, is going to affect your results. What we think we actually become. So if you're thinking down, whether it's about the industry or yourself or anything else, you're going to manifest that in your actions.
Man, mic drop. We could just end the meeting right here. What you think you become, right? Like if that's the foregoing thought, you're going to manifest literally what you're thinking about. If you think it's hard, you're going to attract nothing but hard. And I'm not saying things are easy, right? It's just worth it type of situation. Now, when you think of it as, oh, great, obstacles are invariably going to be there. However, I'm going to attract everything, the knowledge, the tools, the resources, the people to overcome any of those obstacles that will come in the way. Because like no matter what, the goal at the end of it and the journey along the way will help I will help define the journey. And I know that there's going to be other goals along that way that will require the same moving path, right? And by padding it early on with some of the basics of your mission, lead generation, lead follow-up, the transactional process, having those dominoes line up, it really kind of frames the importance level, the prioritizing and executing of putting all of it together. Right? Like you'll see people who got into real estate, they just killed it, right? But they learned almost like by accident, like the money just came in, but they didn't realize there's a mission, there's a vision, there's lead generation, there's lead follow-up. It just kind of was there, right? And it's almost like they're learning backwards, and it's harder sometimes because you learn, you didn't realize, but you learn bad habits. Like, oh, people aren't going to call me Cause I got a real estate license, I put a couple posts on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, right? So now anytime I do that, I'm gonna get business. And then they realize as they're doing it, they're like, oh, hey, I'm not, what's going on? Like, I guess, what do I do now, right? And then they have to relearn or unlearn bad habits. You hear it all the time with people in different careers and different businesses. So thank you for that, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And there you go. Mindset matters. What's your mindset? Are you aligned with your heart? Are you ready to take action to have a successful day? This kind of takes us back to why we're doing real estate, right? Whether it's like our primary one industry, one business, or if it's a part of a greater whole that we're doing, or an ancillary part of what we do. Real estate is that, right? What's your mindset? I think Mark kind of framed it up the best. What we manifest, we create. Well, what we think about, we manifest. What we think, we become. A great book written by James Allen, As a Man Thinketh, by I think it was James Allen. That book is all about your mind, right? He compares it to a garden. If you plant weeds for whatever reason, or if you don't tend to the garden, the weeds grow. You know, if you want an awesome farm or an awesome garden, you got to cultivate. You gotta till the soil. You got to remove the weeds. You got to clip the vines. You have whatever, just different things to help nurture that garden. You got to water it. Obviously, you got to give it proper sunlight. There's a lot of moving parts to that, and that mindset does matter. However you start your day, whether it's a miracle morning, whether it's a combination of that with your family, right out of the MREA, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. It's so funny. Like the whole book talks about like big vision and then what to do. And then like the most important thing he sticks at the very end of the book, like page 300 something. And it says how to start your day. And he says, start by filling your spiritual energy. And it's like the 5 energies. He talks about your spiritual energy, your physical energy, nourishment, your love, with your family or wherever you find that family or love fulfillment, and then plan your day, and then execute your one thing, which whatever that is, could be prospecting, lead follow-up, combination of your files, and then hit your lead follow-up and prospecting and all that stuff, which I do. I kind of do in reverse order, but you know, you work on those 5, everything else kind of flows from that. Right? So getting into that habit really kind of sets what you do to have a successful day. Early on, you had one where it was, let me just walk up the stairs, right? Or walk on the beach, because that's like a reset. Now it's like, oh, I can have those moments every day. You guys were here for Orly Cochet, right?
Yeah.
And she said her one powerful action is when she goes to when she walks over from her bed to the bathroom to go and brush her teeth. And like in that time, she didn't phrase it, but it's quiet at home, kids are asleep before they wake up. And she says, if all else fails, if I can just do those 2 things, get up, be grateful for life, get to the bathroom, brush my teeth. I imagine that she's being grateful in those steps, right? Like we learned in Bold, challenge yourself. The first thing you do when you wake up is have a journal there and write 3 things that you're grateful for every morning, right? And it'll be hard to like not have an awesome day. Or if you read the book, Admiral William McRaven, it's called Do Your Bed. I think it's called Make Your Bed. But he said if all else failed, the one thing he was successful at when he was in Navy SEAL training was that his bed was perfect. You know, he could have fallen off a ship, swam 50 miles, whatever, ended up in the sand, had a really rough day. But the one thing that they trained them on was do make your bed. And then that was like the one perfect thing you did. But however you start is how you continue on, right? And again, you kind of go back to your wins of the day. Might be making your bed, might be doing your gratitudes, but that all matters. We hit this early on. This is really our belief system in our culture. Thank you to Stephanie, she's not here right now, but she went over this morning. So Mark was here on the Forward Mindset call. And if you want to screenshot this, I think it's, if you're on a Mac, it's Command Shift 3 is the way to do it. I don't know how to do it on a regular keyboard, but win-win or no deal, integrity, do the right things, customers always come first, commitment in all things, communication, seek first to understand, creativity, ideas before results, teamwork together, everyone choose more, trust starts with honesty, equity, opportunities for all, success results through people. And you'll find yourself in real estate and in business, not just color plans. I mean, this could easily be applied to auto sales, right? But it's just a matter of adopting it internally. Like when we think of negotiations, like you guys have heard Stephanie, myself, other people say the 1 rule of 5. I call it the 1 rule of 6 or the 6th rule, but the first one is practice. Second one is prospect. Third one is lead follow-up. Fourth is negotiate contracts. Fifth is be on appointments. The 6th one, the 1 rule of 6, is manage the money coming in, right? Manage the revenue. And it's hard to not filter that 1 rule through these lens, right? Especially when we're negotiating or working with a client, prospecting through. Is it a win for the client I'm working with? Or is it just a win for me? Or is it a win-win, right? Or when we're working with a client and they're offering, well, Phil, I'm going to sell the house if you can do a 2% commission because this is what this person's doing. It's a win for them. Is it a win for us? For our time, our commitment, what we're willing to do? I'm not saying say no, maybe refer it or fight for a proper amount, but the amount of energy we put into something, and that really defines things. Wish they could change this to clients, but customers, clients always come first, right? Integrity. Are we doing the right thing for our clients, or even for the other agent on the other side of the deal? Are we doing the right thing, or are we just trying to push an agenda? Commitment in all things, right? Like we're going to start something, we're going to finish it, and that commitment kind of goes back to what Mark said about, hey, well, we think about, we manifest. So are we committing to growth, or are we committing to just letting things happen to us, right? Because the commitment is to growth. Now we're looking for solutions. Now we're looking for the books, we're looking for the teachers, we're looking for the events, we're looking for the people that can help us bring about what we're looking to accomplish. Creates communication, seek first to understand. I am a big F for failing forward on communications. I assume too much, right? Like whether with my wife or with clients or with my kids, I tend to jump to a conclusion without seeking first to, hey, what's the battle landscape look like? What's really going on before I offer any help, solutions, or talk to people about stuff, right? So I've learned through failing forward, hey, Max, Max is my son. Max, everything cool? Like, tell me what's going on. Besides me telling him, hey, fix your attitude. Sometimes that works, but a lot of times I need to really work with them there, right? Creativity, ideas before results. A lot of that, the ideas may actually be already made, especially in real estate. There isn't a challenge that someone probably hasn't overcome. We just have to be a little bit more open, going back to communication, being open to sharing what we're going through, right? Because invariably someone may have gone through worse and made it out way better, or someone's gone through something similar and now we have like a platform to create a solution. Teamwork, together everyone achieves more. No man's an island. You can't win by missing 4 players in a baseball team. Every position has to be filled, otherwise there's a large 100-foot gap on the field, right? Trust starts with honesty in all things, right? And we're entering a market where it's not foreclosure, short sale, notice default driven. You'll get a couple, I know we see them, but the answer and solution will not be the banks foreclosing right away. Maybe you get a hard money lender who's like, hey, they know what they're in, they're gonna get a good real estate property, okay, but that's not gonna be the norm, right? We're gonna be working with like real life people, not banks and algorithms. Now we might meet those people through algorithms if you're investing in KW command and ads and all that stuff, right? But at the end of the day, the people still want to work with someone they trust. They might start online, but they end up with Mark through your sphere or through other means, or right through us here in the room, or Monique, anyone watching the recording of this. They still want to work with somebody, and all of that starts with trust, right? It starts with honesty. It starts with, hey, building that rapport and understanding like, wow, I just met Evie at the door, but she's one of the most honest people I can think of when it comes to real estate, right? So building that trust, whether face to face, on the phone, and believe it or not, you can create that through a text message. So many people are communicating through text and email now, and it's like a norm to maybe communicate through emojis, but then eventually that translates to a phone call, like face-to-face, one-on-one meet, equity, opportunities for all, and then success will still result through people, that team aspect. even when starting off at level 1 as a solo agent, and people build wealthy careers off of being a solo agent, they're still not solo. They got their lending partner, they got their escrow team, they got their stager, they got their home inspector, they got their investor, they've got their clients. All of that is an ecosystem, right? Some make it obvious, like Team La Familia or KW Calabasas, right? However, at times, you know, you can still create an ecosystem around those clients, around yourself. All of this, again, it's hard to not filter what we're doing without this as the lens. Even when we don't know it word for word, or we know it out of order, there's some context to it that we're still thinking, man, this doesn't feel right. You know, the client's getting a little bit out of it, but are we? Or, man, you know, it feels good for me, but is it really in the best interest of the client? That's usually the big one. You know, oh, yeah, maybe we do need to cancel, or whatever the situation entails. You know, revisit your value proposition. Does my value proposition reflect truly, or value proposition reflect who I am, the value I bring, and the benefit my clients will experience working with me? Next question, am I confident sharing my value proposition with my contacts? If not, how can I make it easier to express my value? A very simple value proposition would be, hi, I'm your real estate partner, advocate, resource, and consultant when it comes to one of the biggest financial decisions you'll make in your lifetime, right? They say the 2 biggest financial for the average person will be when they're buying and selling a house and when they retire. God willing that they did the 401k thing, or they did their SEP IRA or their IRA, whatever money they have amassed leading into retirement will be a big financial decision on how they manage that, right? And leading up to that, for the common person that's working 9 to 5 for the most part, saving their money to go to Disneyland, you know, or going to buy a house, that first time buying will be huge. I don't care if it takes 20,000 or 200,000 to buy a house, 2 million to buy a house. That's a big move. And for all the clients we've worked with, the money they put into the house is all the money they had in the world, right? And they trust us with, hey, Philip, this is what I can commit to. God, I hope this works. You know, it's kind of the feeling. Some people say it, but usually that's kind of the feeling, right? Like, hey, please don't mess this up. Now, the idea is, like, how do we translate that into a conversation, into emotion that we're having with them? And what I shared is kind of in line with that. How can I be my goal is to be your real estate partner, advocate, resource, and consultant when it comes to making one of the biggest moves in your financial life, right? This one is, you guys can read it. I have to after do this. Revisit your big life, your vision, your future, your big life. You know, I learned this from Paul Moritz. So, Mark, you may have seen him in some of the sales meetings. He owns like a handful of these forward living market centers. There's about 11 of us under Keller Williams that he owns. And he talked about dream board, and I related to him. Like, you can do a dream board and there's like a yacht, a plane, all this stuff on there. And he was like, oh, it's cool, you feel great. And yeah, maybe you accomplished some of it, but it never felt like attainable because it was just so massive. There wasn't, and he thinks in a way that's kind of more linear as opposed to more of a spider web, which I totally get. And he said, well, what about writing out a dream budget? And I could relate to that because I remember when I got very purposeful on what my bills were, I was like, oh, so wait, I truly just need to make $5,000 a month and I'm even, right? That covers, at the time, that covered everything. Obviously, for some people, it could be 50,000, but the 5,000 to me was like, okay, so if I just got focused on closing one escrow a month, then wow, there you go. I'm ahead of the game times 2, right? So way ahead of the game. And you know, funny thing is, when you're creating momentum to get 1 a month, you're actually creating momentum to get 5 a month, right? So my mistake was I wasn't managing the money as it was coming in. You know, I'll talk more about that later. But the idea of it is like, hey, what's my must make at this moment? And then you look at the next level. When we bought our house, we did the numbers and figured, okay, well, this is what our projected mortgage would be. This is what our next, and we didn't even realize we didn't have a name for it. We just said, hey, this is what it's going to take for us to move to Independence Avenue. And then we were there. But now the budget was like 7,000, right? So there's other things that the kids were doing that we wanted to do. And then it was like, oh, great, this is really cool. Now we have it to where, our whole thing is 12 a month. That covers everything, but it doesn't cover savings. So how do we get into savings for IRA, all this stuff, and we do that at the end of the year? But you look at your vision for a bigger life, then it's like, what's the cost of the things that I want, right? And am I gonna save money to buy it, lump sum cash, or do I finance a house? And then you can kind of look at the budgets of those things. And we'll do a different class on that. Maybe we can get Paul Morris in here to teach that. But the idea is, what is it today? What is it 5 years from now? What is it like your life unlimited? And then that's where you start creating kind of your financial independence number, right? Like, call me crazy, financial independence number for me is $50,000 a month. If that were coming in without me like actively working every day, that would just set me free. That would allow me to travel, allow my family not to think about the bills. That would fund kids' college, and assuming they were out of college, that would allow me to visit them anytime in the world, anywhere in the world, within reason, right? It would allow me to still give to our church and other things that call to us, like our scouting troop. There's different things within that 50,000 that allow us to do things that we want to pursue, right? And that's, the idea is like coming from rentals, coming from business, but not me actively building that vertical income, right? Another quote, one thing all high achievers have in common is they are working for a big why. The big why is about having a purpose, a mission, or a need that in turn gives you focus. I'm going to share you mine. What are your kind of big whys? Even with Monique and Mark online, what are some of the big whys if you guys would like to share why you're doing real estate, why you're in business for yourself and not by yourself?
Silence?
Silence. I know, right? Kind of a deep moment of thought here.
Well, my big why is to make sure that my kids are very, very comfortable in what they're doing. And I've expressed this to them. And, straight up speaking, I've partied and made a ton of cash and got a lot of stuff out of my system, from the partying and doing my thing and being in business for myself and everything else. But this, I feel, when they see me working and doing the things that I'm doing to create my real estate situation, it's going to teach them about discipline and everything else. And being a former Marine, I've been still disciplining them already, but I want to see them witness how this is going to grow and how it was accomplished and the things that I'm doing so that they can learn from that. And at the same time, I'm taking care of them very comfortably as well. So that's my big why.
Man, that's huge. Yeah, I've got 4 kids myself, and 2 of them kind of seen us really struggle on welfare and just different things, and 2 were kind of just born into the real estate time, the last few years. And so real estate for me is really the big why is like, how do we fund this amazing life experience for them growing up, whether it's through scouting or jujitsu or schooling and all the stuff that we have them into, for them to be the best thems they can be, right? Like, I'm not going to dictate like them being like attorneys or doctors or whatever. If that's their calling, that's their calling, right? However, along that way, we're going to provide the best childhood experience ever. And then as they're going through college, like, hey, let's get you in the mindset of owning a property that you can rent out to buddies or like college roommates. So when you get out of college, you got this investment, right? That's paying you cash flow. And you learn whether you want to pursue whatever, the seeds of real estate and business, some basic fundamentals to get you through life, right? And business in general, like sports, it's a great analogy for life, right? Like I've never played the game Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. I've never played it. Right? I've Googled it, kind of watched YouTube videos of it. But the idea is like you can be in the rat race for 40, 50 years, or you can get out of it early on and create a world of your own, right? Well, look, if you want to experience that, by all means, just be an owner of the rest of the parts of your life and just know the choices you're making are the choices you're making, you're good with it, right? There's no right or wrong. It's just have a greater perspective, a greater view, right, on that. And that's such a great point. Like, hey, if kids come across hard times like me, awesome. We got a home for you. You know, like we got your back. You come across an incredible business idea, like I wouldn't mind being Warren Buffett's parents who were the first ones to invest in his stock portfolio, right? That eventually became Berkshire Hathaway, or one share worth like 400 grand, right? Or be you know, Bill Gates's mom or dad who like, hey, yeah, pay me rent and work out of the garage, right? So, you know, if you genuinely have like this amazing idea that will change the way we live life, I want to be an investor in it, you know, not just in words, but like financially, right? But you know, that will come. So Mark's point, we're showing them a way, maybe not the way, but a way with like multiple turns and opportunities where like, hey, look, you're gonna see dad, mom fail forward. And guess what? Through failure, you're still learning and still growing, and the best opportunities will come from it, right? And so this just becomes that opportunity to teach that. Big why for me, obviously my kids, my wife, what we're doing. More than what the money would do, it's more the opportunities it creates for the family, for others, and off we go. Big because you're after extraordinary results. Why it is the reason you get up every day and do what you do. You know, yes, we got bills. Yes, we got clients that need our attention. Yes, we got our family. Obviously, a lot of things happening. I did it in reverse order, right? But the big is like, okay, cool. I could be a nurse right now. I could have gone back to nursing school a couple years ago and work in a hospital, right? Or whatever that would have equaled. Bam, you know. Cool. Would have paid the bills. Probably get some time off. But would have really given me time to like really pursue like, oh, cool. All of these events coming up. Great. I'm going to time block all the family stuff first, and then work the business in order to have that time off or that time flex, right? And if you're ever into scouting, like, oh my gosh, that stuff takes a life of its own. And there's a lot of parents who have to say no to going to these events. Their kids go because it's all for the kids, but I know there are parents who want to go and can't go. And there's a difference. There's a choice. A lot of parents are excited. They're like, cool, well, my son's off at camp, my wife and I are going to Palm Springs. You know? And that's a different choice, right?
Yeah.
But those who want to be there and can't be there, that hurts. You know? So there's a reason why we're getting up early every day, not to just be on a call or anything like that, but also to kind of crush it up. Puppy. Yeah, he's an awesome guy.
Who do you belong to?
Andrew.
Oh,
Yeah, so he's like our office mascot. But yeah, the reason why we get up every day isn't just to like, hey, let me get my day done early. I want to get my day done early so I can take my son to jiu-jitsu,
yeah.
right? Early on, it was I get up early to have the best start of my day so I can take my kids to school and then be with them, because it was a 40-minute drive from Panorama City to Woodland Hills, you know, with a little bit of traffic and all that stuff. So it was 40 minutes for me to be my very best so I can spend it with my son. And eventually my daughter was going to school, so it was 40 minutes to spend with my daughter, you know, an hour because she was doing Head Start and all that stuff. But that morning with them was like family time for me. Got my energy by taking them to school, and I needed to be my very best. I couldn't get into the zone while driving them to school. A, it was dangerous getting in a car accident. And B, it was, hey, they get daddy for 40 minutes. I'm not going to answer my phone. We're going to play, you know, Jocko podcast when it was PG, you know, or something. So those two kids, our first two kids, learned about Jim Rohn, about Anthony Robbins, Jocko Willink, Warrior, Way of a Warrior Kid, and we did affirmations and prayer in the morning as we were getting to school. Obviously, eyes wide open while driving, right? But we did that stuff before dropping them off at 7:30 in the morning when the gate opened, right? So then we would hang out and I would hang out with them. To the point when my wife started taking over once the pandemic was over. Like when the pandemic started and we were at home, we still did affirmations before they jumped on Zoom, and we did a prayer before they jumped on. So we had like a modified version, and then my wife Monica adopted it. taking them to school, taking them to summer school. They still, it's a shorter drive, it's only like 10 minutes, but they still do affirmations and they do a prayer before going to school, right? And now our youngest daughter didn't experience that time with me, is learning it from them now that she's in school in person. But those times, I never get that. We could have looked back in those times and been like, oh, it was such a terrible drive. I kind of miss it, even though we moved, we're a lot closer. But we found ways to kind of offset that. Now we have breakfast and we do that together. Maybe not during summer breaks, they sleep in, but now I get to do that in the afternoon. So now the why is great. While they're doing their thing in the morning, I'm gonna crush it so that I can get home, spend the afternoon a little bit with them, have ice cream. I know that was a joke. Probably not every day, but then get them to jujitsu and scouting, and then that other half of the day. And guess what? We meet great people along that path, right? And that was totally undiscovered. I'm sharing this with you, Mark, as well as the team, because people will tell you like, oh, the things you're doing, distraction. Like I remember at the other office I was at, oh, you have a lot of purple on there, not a lot of green. Purple was the like time block color for my family time, right? And I challenged her and said, hey, yes, you're right, 1000%, lots of purple. I will tell you, the opportunities that have come from scouting, from jujitsu, from the dance classes, from gymnastics, from all the kids events, all the relationships that have grown over that time, I don't think I would have gotten anywhere else if I weren't in those rooms or in those events and in those conversations. Like I owe my kids, probably by the time it's all said and done, I'll owe them millions of dollars in just relationships. You know? But you know, it's so true, right?
Brittany's adopting a family.
Yeah, there it is. But you know, those relations, the parents that you meet at these events, they're like-minded to a degree.
She got a position,
Oh, congratulations.
in here, and
Woo!
they're like middle school and high school,
Yeah.
and they do all these events.
Wow, well, there you go.
She's gonna be taking them.
That's huge, because that's the stuff that makes the difference, not the farming. The farming is part of the professional day, you know, or whatever that lead generation activity is. It's all the other stuff that make life A, good for us personally, whatever that is. B, but there's a book called The 1 Minute Millionaire. It's an older book from 20 years
Sounds
ago.
familiar.
Yeah, it was written in the early
I think
2000s.
I might have read that.
Yeah, so there's the
It's a
book.
book, right?
No, it's a thick one,
Oh.
but it's two-sided page. I've never seen it written that way again. One page is the fundamental, the purple page, which is the back page, is the story that goes with applying the fundamental. And then one of the things I took away from it is you're one universal contact away from all your goals and dreams happening, right? Like there's somebody out there that you meet will open up 50 new clients for you. Right, or just open a door to get you into like a larger pool that you couldn't have gotten into if you didn't know Mark, or you didn't know John, or you didn't know Mary, because they were able to like, oh, hey, I know 5 people here who
Yeah.
play for the Lakers, they're all getting traded and they need to sell their houses.
Yeah.
Like,
She works with the Dallas Cowboys.
oh my God, well, there you go.
And even cooler.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard that, Mark.
And the
Brittany,
outlets.
yeah, Brittany over here, she works with somebody works with Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, she's been working with the Camarillo outlets, so she has to put on all these events and she knows a lot of people.
Cause they train over there, right?
Yeah. They're training it.
Wow, well, there you go. It's talking about being one universal contact away, and what feels like a failing moment is failing forward.
Yeah.
And it just opens up something you just never made before,
Mhm.
you know, and I bring up that nursing thing because that's how I felt when I was getting into real estate. I was like, oh, this is like my last
Yeah.
chance, because I failed at this business in financial services.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I'm 28, let me do it one more time. What's the big rush? And then even in real estate, there's a ton of fail forward moments, so it just never ends.
Mhm.
Big why powers your big life, right? So think of that big why, and that will help get you to that big life as it powers you through. Ahas from this first portion.
Right, I would say the same thing, just I wanna help my kids, I wanna have a legacy for them,
Yep.
a living one even, it's gonna be
Yeah.
140. I'm still doing
Stop eating rice, apparently.
But yeah, just, maybe we'll help them make sure their careers are built up and
Totally.
all that awesome stuff, because they're all grown up, but I just wanna, still be that person they can come to for anything they need,
Absolutely.
all three of them.
As where Monica and I are at, because she's that, we're that for her parents, so it's like a little reverse, and then my mom does her own thing. But my mom got there because, we finally said, okay, great, mom will figure this out, we're not gonna go to you anymore, we're gonna figure it out.
So she helped you guys in the beginning.
Oh, huge. Yeah, she was a major reason why we even got through the hump, right? Like, I don't think I would have been able to do it. I mean, maybe, but it would have just been even harder. It would have been like the pursuit of happiness, that rough. And I think Monica
Makes
was,
me cry.
yeah, I think Monica would have been around, but it would have been that type of rough experience. You've seen the movie Pursuit
Oh,
of
yeah.
Happiness, Chris Gardner, Will Smith, that was an awesome movie. I still cry every time it comes up.
Oh,
Max watched and I was like, Max, you don't know how close we were to that. If it weren't for Grandma Norby, that would have been us. So anyways. Whew. Collect yourself. Okay, have a smart money business. So now this is the 6 core competencies of the business: lead generate, capture and convert to appointments, present to buyers and sellers and get agreements, show buyers and market sellers, write and negotiate contracts, coordinate the sale to closing, manage the money. Now I will say number 5 and number 3. So 3 and 5 potentially can be delegated, right? You can build it up, Mark, you can build it up, Evie, Brenda, Brittany, to where 3 and 5 are totally delegated, right? 5 early on, you can hire a TC once you open escrow, right? You can hire an operations manager or listing manager to handle, buyer to buyers close. Right now we kind of really leverage out 3 and 5. Really, what you're really working on is 1, 2, 4, and 6. And even write and negotiate contracts. I mean, you might not even write the contract anymore. You can probably even delegate that out after a while. But these would be the even one, I can argue that this can be like part of one can be delegated out, right? Because if you have a funnel system, whether it's ads or whatever it is, I think the topic of lead generation is more like, who am I staying in contact with? So real simple, you have your core group of people, no matter what you do in life, they're gonna support you, you're gonna call them maybe once a month, right? Your past clients, people that you have transacted real estate with in the past, or your past clients from the previous industry, like in my case, insurance, you would call them once a quarter, see how things are. Like maybe you still have an active business with clients that you're following up with, staying in touch with. Now you're inviting them to real estate in those calls. The third column is your strategic partnerships or allied resources. These are people you write checks to already. You already give them business. If not your own business, you refer them people already. That could be your contractors, that could be your plumbers, that could be your accountant, that could be your attorneys, your lenders, just that circle. And then the fourth column you would have in your general SOI. This is your neighborhood, this is where your kids go to school, these are the markets you're naturally in because it's just a part of your life, is the best way I can say it. Now you might have like the fringe. These are like my high school buddies I haven't seen since May of 2003 when we graduated. That's called Facebook. So I might DM them like as we're going through the alphabet and all that stuff and do the database too. But then they're gonna be on the peripherals. Like if we get them, that is like gravy, right? The other 3 categories I talked about, or 4, the other 3 categories I talked about, those would be kind of the top ones and where we live as the ones that will be a part of that ecosystem that we're building. Now, don't forget, notice the defaults, expires, outside farms, micro farms, open houses, all of that still works. That's just kind of additional on top of your SOI, right? Big one, manage the money. Like the money, like Mark said, you make it, you have it, you enjoy it, you save some of it, you invest some of it, get really in the habit of knowing what the budget is so that when you have an overflow, the overflow can get reinvested and go from there. Where does the money go? Part of it goes to the other agents. So this is like of the 6% deal, right? Another one goes to your market center, business expenses, and then there's a take-home portion, right? This one's your take-home, taxes. The other agent, all that, oh, I'm going backwards, taxes, your take-home, off you go, right? Now, the business expense and market center, that could be adjusted for the monthly cap, among other things, or wherever you're at in terms of business. Financially sound or unsound, sold commission, $9,000, paid to the order of the agent, $57.60. $57.60 goes into the business account, the personal account, and then all of it goes into the wallet. Like off it goes. No business savings, no tax savings. This is where the manage the money comes in. This is totally me on my first couple of deals. Okay. And then you end up owing the IRS money and it becomes a fun learning experience that you don't have to go through. Right. So let me have that fun learning experience. You guys just learn from that fun learning experience. $9,000 commission, pays to the order of Jessica Campbell. She takes a portion of that money and it goes into a business account, bank account for business. The rest of it's personal. Now she divides the personal into a tax account, right? And a self-employment tax, right? So your state and your self-employment, and then she gets whatever's left over for her own pay. But if you notice here, she saved a portion of the money. I think that's 20%, if I'm not mistaken, or near 15%. Yeah, give or take like 12% of the money she set aside, or no, 15, it's like 15-20%, but she set aside some of the money and then off the rest of it went. If you want to like kind of hyper do it, like set yourself up as a C Corp, or sorry, an S Corp, S Corp, and then make yourself an employee of the S Corp and pay yourself distributions. Talk to your preferred CPA on that. I'm not a CPA myself. That's looked the game changer for us in early 2020 when we filed our, was it 2020? Yeah, we incorporated, we became an S Corp in 2020, and everything we did beginning at the end of that year was now through the S Corporation. So we were late adopters to the game with it, but once we did it, it changed everything in terms of how we pay taxes, how we save money, how we're able to reinvest money. That was where we started running like business, right? Money is good for the good it can do. I think we kind of beat that into the grindstone in a positive sense. The flow of money, income, what goes in, expenses, what goes out, profit is what's left, as opposed to profit goes into income, goes into expenses. How many homes do I have to sell? So then there's actually a way of thinking of it. So like, what's your goal? So if you flip it upside down, you think of the end in mind. So what's your profit goal for the year? So let's say you said 500,000. Well, how many homes do I need to sell in order to meet 500,000? How can I minimize the expenses to maximize my net income? And the fun game we're going to do next Wednesday, Mark, I'm going to see if I can invite you to this, but it's a network meeting that we host at Sagebrush. And one of the little assignments that we do for all the realtors, not all of them are from KW Calabasas, by the way, they're from other places.
I saw someone I know there, Patty.
Oh, yeah, Luca?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome lady.
Was that HomeSmart?
Yeah, she's still there. Still at HomeSmart.
HomeSmart Evergreen?
Yeah, she's still there. We're gonna have everyone bring, if they're open, so they don't have to share it, but I'm gonna print out all of my bank statements, right? And we're gonna go through what expenses we can cut out. What BS expense are we spending money on? And how can we get it off the expense item?
It's so funny because I was thinking of signing up for Truebill for a couple of months and doing that just.
Yeah,
Because I have a lot and I was like, man, I pulled out so much money from my savings account. Paid these bills and now stuff not even using.
oh yeah, totally.
Lots
I
of
mean,
subscriptions.
the big one we learned during the pandemic, there was like a ton of Apple subscriptions that we were on. And we were like, what's this? All right, delete. We ended up saving like $400
Yeah.
in different things. And it wasn't all subscriptions. Some of it was like, oh, why are we still paying for this service? I think it was wasn't RevoGate. We were using something before and I totally forgot it was still there. How silly is that? That was like $99 a month and just coming out. There was a life insurance policy that we thought we had replaced. Then we got like cheaper term insurance and it was still on there. It was like $200. Oh, okay, let's delete that. let's call and follow, cancel that bad boy. We save money on our health insurance by making a few changes there, so you kind of get where I'm going with that.
Yes.
So by the end of the month, it was like nearly $1,000 in savings, just without leaving the house, right? Expenses related to business, please take a picture of this. Cost of sale would be related to each transaction. Commissions paid to the market center, royalty fees. Commissions are split paid to employees or independent contractors involved in the sales and referral fees. So our cost of sale on Team La Familia, once we're capped, would really just be any splits paid to employees or independent contractors, that'd be the team. Referral fees, like via Corona, there's a referral fee on the listing side going out to another agent, right? But he was the one who referred the deal to us. So he's getting 30% of the listing side deal, and then we have our own split on the buyer side, all that stuff. So that's the cost of the sale. Operating expenses, now these are the costs to run your business, in this case, rent, auto insurance, or auto pay, or whatever it is to run your car, salaries for administrative staff. We have that insurance, professional services, marketing, advertising, equipment and sale, supplies, education. Best practices, gain clarity on your big why and plans for your future, set your personal and business budgets. That's a big one. Open additional bank accounts for taxes, expenses, and other savings. A great hack or a great book on that is Profit First. I forget his name, Mike something. But on that, he talks about having 5 bank accounts. One is your intake account. That's where you make all your deposits into. The second one is your Profit First account. That's where you take 10% and put it into that account. Now, he has a different breakdown depending on your levels. This is just the basic. Take 10% for owner's compensation. So you get a $10,000 commission check. 10% is going, all of it's going into that intake account, and then you're gonna go in and manipulate it and move 10% to that Profit First 1,000, another 10%, another 1,000 is your owner's income account. Then you're gonna put 15%, 1,500 into your tax accounts, and then the rest of it, you're gonna go to your operating expenses, right? And operating expenses would include all of these items here, right? And remember, the cost of sale, that's before, so the money you're putting in your intake account is after this is accounted for, right? And then all of this goes into the rest of it after your profit, your owner's compensation, and your taxes will go into your operating expense. Now, for your operating expense, if you're an S corp, this is the hack, is that you can pay yourself a distribution. So after you take care of your operating expenses, you can maybe get your distribution from that, depending on how you set it up. But that could also be you paying yourself through that. Think and act the wage you want before you earn it. Average is as average does, good as good does, and great is as great does. What you do is who you become. That is literally what Mark had shared earlier. What you think about, you manifest, you bring about. Think about it like your hourly rate. Like if someone were to pay me $1,000 an hour, who am I to like make $1,000 an hour? Yet I pay my coach $1,000 a month for 2 hours of his time, right? So if you look at that, what would that be? $500 an hour for him, right? 30-minute sessions, 4 times a month, give or take, right? So I'm paying him $500 an hour for his time in order to make best use of my time and my business and my focus. So what value am I giving to our team, to our clients, to people who aren't clients yet, to complete strangers, in order to validate $500 an hour, $1,000 an hour, right? So that whole idea of being your partner, your real estate partner, advocate, resource, and consultant, what am I doing to make those 4 things a benefit for the client in order to generate potential revenue from them or through someone they know, right? And being that value to where they're like, hey, you're ever thinking real estate, call La Familia, call Philip, call this group, call that person. They'll take care of you, right? This is something we can do at a different time, but revisit your profit net income goal. So you would basically have a formula where you would have your net income goal adjusted for your royalty and cap, which in this case is 23,000. You guys, it's different now. Remember, you guys are on this half cap, so it's 10,000 plus the royalty for 13. Right, so yours is a little adjusted. They want you to use 35% of your GCI for your business expenses. So that's 65% I talked about. You can adjust that. Your total gross commissions adjusted here for A plus B plus C would be your total net, your total gross income. And then E, you would list in your average commission. So if you're selling homes at a $1 million clip at a 2.5% commission, that's $25,000 per average sale. Or if you wanted to use LA County, I believe the number is 750,000. If you want to use a state number for the adjustment in prices, 750 to 800,000 at a 2.5% commission is a safe number. I think it comes up to like 19,000 if you're at 800,000. And then you would take the number of transactions and now, or divide your net income goal by your average commission. Now it'll come up with your total number there. Now you can do all this through command, right? In fact, with a TC, they'll help you set up your transaction portion, but you can also manage your goals, everything through here. Sorry, guys, I want to get you guys out for the caravan. Commit to the success system for life. And this is, guys, what helped me make nearly $160,000 during the pandemic, $500,000 the year after, or 2021 last year. And with the exception of Bold, this is about what I average out: 10 conversations a day, 10 contacts added. I do it through Josh, 10 handwritten notes. I kind of delegate through my VA as well. The social media engagement, 10 likes, 5 comments, 1 DM. Stick to my growth plan, appointments, agreements, closings. And that's kind of my focus on a day-to-day basis. Now, during Bold and even after Bold, it's 20. And even after Bold, I'm still between 15 to 20 contacts a day.
Yeah.
Right, kind of going back to my previous average, but with more intent, more purpose. What was that? And then here,
Is it 25 and then 20-5-1?
oh, 10-5-1.
But with Bold,
Yeah, with Bold, it's 20. Now, if you're in the habit of doubling up, keep the
so
habit.
10,
Yeah.
20, 10, 1.
Right. 2010, 2010 being, you're right. But, keep the habit up of
Yeah,
what
yeah.
we picked up at Bold.
We're still doing the group on WhatsApp.
Ah,
Put our
there you
numbers in
go.
there
Yeah.
well, this first week again.
And that's good accountability, because
Yeah.
you're gonna build on those wins and opportunities there for sure.
Yeah, it's a really cool place to still keep doing it.
Dude, that's awesome. Importance of accountability on that thread is keeps your mindset focused and positive, reminds you of your big why, challenges you and makes you uncomfortable at times, is one of the 6 principles of perspective, which is to be accountable, right? Again, back to Mark's point with his kids, one of the biggest learning lessons we can give them is being accountable, right? They're gonna be accountable to somebody, right? Might as well be with themselves internally before they get called to the carpet by other outside sources, right? If you're accountable to yourself, all of a sudden you can go anywhere. You can do anything, right? Types of accountability, accountability partner, productivity coach, mentor, max coach. We have our 4. So these 3 things right here on your tools, I'm working with the office to actually teach a class on that, like how to put it on Google, how to transfer it to iPhone and Apple and all the stuff that we use in order to actually have actual time blocks. And we're gonna actually create a schedule and adjust it for everyone's schedule and needs, right? The one thing, big time book, you can capture that. Hey, Roger, good to see you, man. You can read that book and make that part of your library. That is a powerful book written by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. Plan for learning. Now, this is huge because people kind of forget and gloss over the learning part. They think, I got my license, I attended Ignite, I've done Bold. Cool, I'm good. No. It is constant and never-ending improvement. I think we started we started this with that in mind, right? The end in mind is this growth opportunity. Look at SRAR if you're part of our local board, or if you're part of Conejo Valley, or a part of Conejo Valley. I know they have their own training schedules outside of our office. We have our network meeting that means twice a month. It's the 1st and 3rd Wednesday of every month over at the Sagebrush Cantina until we change locations. And that's from 12:30 to 2 o'clock.
1st and 3rd?
Yeah, 1st and 3rd Wednesday of every month. It was weird because we were at Bold the last 8.
Yeah.
So, but otherwise we're meeting there the 1st and 3rd Wednesday of every month. Attend family reunion, mega camp, regional events that come through. It's a little bit of money invested. It's a big write-off, part of your operating expenses, but it's also the amount of knowledge and perspective you gain from that. it's almost like you're at the front cutting edge of a concert and, you know, before you're like the first one tweeting about it or Facebooking about an event or a concert before it became mainstream, right? Make reading these books and others a part of your growth plan. You know, Millionaire Real Estate Agent, maybe make it a goal for September or August to finish that book. Shift, great book. That's like the sequel to the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And then the One Thing, those 3 books alone is equivalent to Think and Grow Rich, but for real estate. Mark, have you ever read Think and Grow Rich by any chance? Napoleon Hill's book?
Have I what?
Have you read Think and Grow Rich by any chance by Napoleon Hill?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, cue that one up if you know, even on Audible is totally cool. I mean, I say read, listen, whatever your preferred
I've listened to it before.
yeah, there you
A
go.
long time ago, I probably have to do it.
Right. I mean the one, maybe they changed the voice and the guy has like an older voice, but you know, whatever your mode of learning is, I do both. Like now it's podcasts for me, but it used to be CDs. You know, right? You know, or I would I would go to the library, rent out the audio CD, and then copy it to MP3, plug it into my car, what was it called? Not an iPhone, it's a little
Oh,
iPods. There you go. Yeah, you used to have iPods. That's funny. I know. Yeah, like the little square. I mean, you would say it did, but back then you put 10,000 minutes of song on it. I was like mind blowing. Oh man, our age. Okay, cool. So I would just play those in my car. My car was a university when I used to drive a lot. Now I don't drive as much, so I play the podcast when I'm on elliptical or, you know, doing other things. Be learning based courses. These are some more opportunities to learn. On your sales skills, mindset, and accountability, smart finances, hiring, diversity, equity, inclusion. I mean, this is actually all within Keller Williams. So this isn't even stuff that you'll find outside. I'm sure you will. Us Command is exclusive to what we do here. But all of this stuff you'll find through the KW system here. Plan for learning. So on that note, when we do the time block teaching or class, the first time block is your vacation. All your vacation time, block it as best you can. Like if you know you have a relative or a best friend who's getting married and it's on a specific date and it's a destination wedding, block it off. And then figure a way to like make sure it's protected. And then after that, the vacations are block your family time. Like these are the walls that I'm not gonna let BS get through, right? I might take a call, but this is like, I know this is when my kids are off from school. I know I'm picking them up from school. I know when I'm getting, you know, taking them to school, all that stuff. And then you start planning your work in between your life, as opposed to planning your life into your work, right? Then you also plan learning events. So Keller Williams is pretty good at getting the training calendar out for the following year. So I can block off mega camp, family reunion, masterminds, all that stuff. So I kind of get my big family stuff planned out. And then we got this kids schedule because the schools are pretty good at getting those schedules out. Then I get the training schedule in there. Then I get my work schedule in that. And I can teach that on how to put it through Google. Design your future plan. Mission. This is our mission statement. To build careers worth having, businesses worth owning, lives worth living, experiences worth giving, and legacies worth leaving. And they may end up changing this, but legacy worth living, right? Like we can live our legacy right now without having to worry about leaving a massive insurance policy or whatever behind, right? Because the legacy isn't like the stuff we leave behind. Part of it is how we're living today, right? I'm gonna go back to Mark's point because this is part of my internal mission, which is living a life that my kids would see like, oh, I want to lead a similar life to my dad. You know, not my dad. I'm not, you know, they're way better than me. You know, so high five to them as kids. But the idea of, hey, that's a model life, right? He did the best he could, and it was good. And you know what? That's worth leading. I'm not gonna follow some third party. Yeah, this is some good stuff too, but dad is doing it, mom is doing it, right? And off we go. So it's a legacy worth living. You're gonna live out the legacy and then leave a legacy through that and other like material stuff. Real quick, Jim Rohn says the 3 things you leave behind besides money and assets and all this stuff, the 3 most important things you can leave behind are pictures, Take lots of pictures, save them, print them out, whatever it is, but have pictures that the family can look back on. Like, oh wow, dad was there, or oh wow, I remember that, right? The second one is your library, a library of books that change your life, or in this case, maybe Audible or the downloads, right? So I do have a library. Kids see it every day, kind of take it for granted, but those are the books that changed our life, right? Like, well, it took us from destitution, let's put it that way, to here, and then there's more on the horizon, right? And the third are our journals. The journals and even the planners, you know, they'll go through these bad boys one day and realize, wow, dad was serious. He really blocked off all the times he was picking us up in school. Yeah, you're my priority. I always ask my son, who's my priority? I am, and my siblings. Yes, Max gets it. The others don't get it yet, right? But I can ask a 12-year-old dad and he gets it. Yes, he's 12. Yeah. Like, yeah, he's turning 13 this year. Like, I can ask him that and he knows where my priorities are at. And one day they're gonna open those journals and realize dad was crazy. But B, he was also like, he was all about family. Why is daddy drawing triangles and circles and arrows and all this stuff, right? But those are the three things.
My dad had an immaculate filing system that we didn't know of until he passed away, and our files were even in there, like, whoa, he kept all this,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
It was crazy to be a crime, they didn't keep this stuff. Like,
I know.
I even told them like, hey, what if we, instead of doing this, we just package and send it to you up north? And we got everything we wanted.
There was so much left over, it's like.
Yeah, there were journals in there too,
Yeah.
you know, all my kids don't do that, you know, but to that point, get real about your situation and get right about what you're doing. Bring a greater sense of clarity, priority, and focus to your work. That is prioritize and execute. That is living life by design, focusing on the goals, breaking it down on a day-to-day basis. Get real about what needs to come in. Like, if I keep telling myself I need to make $1 million a month, I'm so out of alignment with A, what is needed, and B, what's realistic to my situation right now, right? And then when I don't hit it, I'm gonna either do zero and feel bad about not hitting $1 million in 1 month. Exactly, and then now you're building off of losses and not losing forward, failing forward. There's a difference between losing and failing forward, right? Losing, you just go backwards. Failing forward, hey, you're failing yet winning forward by learning new experiences, hitting numbers, and gaining market share. Design your future, and again, this is something we're going to be doing on the time blocking class, where you're building your value proposition, remembering and knowing your big why, having your profit goal, number of transactions, smart database, smart money business, accountability and learning. And then here we go. Any ahas before we end today? And thank you guys actually have done it, and Monique from day one. Mark, thanks for jumping in today. Would love for you to share even more down the road. So that was seriously a mic drop moment for anyone watching this. Thank you, Monique. Party on. Any ahas from today? Awesome. Otherwise, we're gonna end here. I'm gonna stop the screen share or stop the recording.